into an excerpt from the Easton Online Bible Dictionary, which reads Naphtahim, a Hamitic tribe descended from Mitzrayim. Others identify this word with Mepata, the name of the city and territory on the southern frontier of Mitzrayim, the modern Meroe, at the great bend of the Nile at Sudan. This city was a royal residence, it is said, of the Queen Candace Axum, which we know as the Queen of Sheba, or Saba. Here, there are extensive and splendid ruins. So when you go into that, you have many of the artifacts of our language that were found at the Temple of Yeha in Ethiopia. You also have many artifacts found in Sudan, also in Arabia, which is also a false accusation that the Arabians came from Arabia into Africa. We also occupied that land as well. So if you look at the map of Africa, you'll see on the East Coast, or if you guys can pull it up on your phone, that'd be cool. You'll see the East Coast and the countries that reside there. You'll see Ethiopia and Eritrea, very, very close to what you would call Arabia, Mesopotamia, and Yemen. Those countries were all occupied by us, or our ancestors. And we were the first to speak the tongue. So when you go into Ms. Batia, you may say, oh, it's not the hieroglyphs, so it's not original. But when you talk about the hieroglyphs that you see on the walls of ancient Egypt, that was a code almost for a high priest. So it wasn't commonly spoken. So this is the language that was commonly spoken and written by our ancestors. All right?
A while back.
Yesterday, I met a brother, and he was from Ethiopia. And we had a conversation about the land and the people and the history of the land and the people. And within that conversation, we spoke of the origin of language. And he conveyed to me, with his expression, that Ethiopia was the first to birth everything, and that Amharic was the original language. And all of the other Semitic tongues came out of that. And I was doing my best to express certain things to him, but he couldn't understand anything that I was saying. So I said, well, where is the word Ethiopia within the Amharic language? Because I've never heard of that in the language. So he couldn't convey. He actually told me, oh, some people say that Ethiopia is coming from the Greek, but that's not true. And I said, well, through my research, that is the case. But it was basically a dead-end conversation, so I had to rescind and just pretty much give it to him, you know, just to make peace with the brother. You know, but any thoughts on that?
My thoughts are, personally proud he's representing his culture to the highest extent, but that isn't the closest language. So Amharic, again, is a part of the Semitic languages, but it's not the original. That was also kind of changed and moved by the invaders that came there. So, you know, a lot of Ethiopians, they are mixed. Well, the ones that you see face front, they are mixed with Indian invaders, Persian invaders, etc. So their language also got watered down. And it's a different dialect from what we speak. Right? I'm going to read more of an excerpt from the language of time. Okay, what is considered to be Old Ethiopian, which is Sabaean, was said to be used around 700 BC to 600 AD. All right? Sabaean is another ancient African script that is similar to Djed and a descendant of the Proto-Saharan system. So that kind of goes more into it. Again, the word Sabaean comes from the Western name Sheba, and that goes back into the Queen of Sheba, or Hatshepsut, who traveled in all of the regions of the east coast of Africa, or what you would call Egypt. And she also spread the language with her. Okay. And and it's also whom many modern Ethiopians call Makeda, the ruler to whom the Sabaean or Old Ethiopian script is attributed. So it also goes into like the Djed kingdom of Yemen and things like that. So I can see where he's coming from, but it's not the oldest. Amharic has also been mixed and mingled. Okay? Alright, so now we're going to go into some of the script. We have a few different books that'll be available, and if you haven't already had them, they're going to be revised as well soon. So this here is the script, and what I was explaining in last week's class and a few other classes that we have dual letters, and we also have letters that you normally wouldn't find in the English language. Again, so Sabbatic versus English. English is a very flat-toned language. We don't use a lot of facial muscles when we speak it, and hence you have like many different dialects. People create slangs and things like that. When it comes to Sabbatic, we don't have any slang actually, and it forces us to use all of our 43 facial muscles. Okay. So again, a lot of these tones are in a lot of languages that you'll see today, of like stemming from ancient tongues, and that's because it did derive from this. So we're going to go into the dual letters here, and also some of the letters that you may not see, or they have a different tongue placement from English letters, all right? So first we have, and I want everybody to repeat after me. So certain ones you may not feel comfortable with saying at first, but just practice, and that'll make perfect, okay? So the first one we have is khe. Khe. And this is not necessarily too guttural, but you are using the pressure of the roof of your mouth and your tongue to create the sound. Then you have t. Re. And that's similar to the Latin R, which is, we know Latin came or stemmed from the Semitic languages. All right, next we have so. So this is different from the regular S, how you say S in English. You put pressure again on the roof of your mouth and your tongue to pronounce the sound. So. So similar to saying soap, but you put more emphasis on the S. Next we have ta. So this one, the tip of your tongue is at the top of your first two teeth. Ta, and you put pressure on it. Ta. Next is z. So that's also a buzzing sound almost. You put the tongue at the bottom of your two teeth, a little bit before your bottom row of two teeth. Okay? The next is ah. Now this is a guttural tone, and you may hear it a lot in the Arabian language. So if you hear the people at the bodega or whoever speaking, try to pick up on that note and practice it so you can get more comfortable with it. Next from that is and the next is So again, they're very guttural. But these three tones are represented by the one symbol. So that's why it's important to know the actual script. Because if I'm writing in transliteration, it confuses a lot of people, because you may see a KH and you think it's two different letters, or you may see the A with the dot and you think it's a normal A. But when you go into the script, you'll see the differences in the lettering, okay? Next is Z. It's similar to the Z, but it's more of a D sound. It's more of an emphasis to it. The next is Th. And it sounds like TH, but it is not. So again, you're putting pressure on the base of your teeth. Alright? And this letter you'll see a lot in when we say Natharu. So that is spelled with a DJ, not a TH. But if you can hear the sound, you'll pick up on it. It's not necessarily the, but it's the. Next is re. Re. Which is similar to che, but it's not. If you can hear the difference, re and che. Okay. The next is the hard H, or ha. So again, that's said with the emphasis. So you're basically breathing out as hard as you can. So ha. Alright. So now, I'm going to write a few words on the board in relation to the sounds so we can practice them together. And you can hear it in a word form and kind of pick up on the sound that way. Alright?
Real quick for the brother, he's talking about the Djed language. I'm gonna read you out. Well, it's actually coming from Patois. Let's see. Okay, so it reads, they named you. If you speak Spanish, Cuban, you are speaking Latin, which is Roman, one of their own tongues. When you say I'm Moorish/Moor, they know that it's not an Arabic word at all. They know that it's Latin, Morenos, dark skin. It's not an Islamic title at all. They know that it's from their own tongue, Hebrew, Amharic, Gezic, Coptic, Aramic, Syriac, Arabic. And you use it as your title/name. They know it came from them. You can say originally Semitic tongues were spoken by Negroes, yet what you call Hebrew today is not original. What you call Arabic today is not original. All of those originals were lost, not spoken today. They know this. When they hear you speak Hebrew, they are not impressed because they recognize it. When you speak Spanish, Amharic, English, they recognize from where they came and know it's from their own. Yet, when they hear you speak Sabbatic, they say, excuse me, what's that language you're speaking? And when you say Sabbatic, the look on their face is worth more than gold. Why? Because they do not recognize it as their own. They then ask, what's your religion? And you say, don't need one. What do you believe? Don't have to. Who is your God? I am. Their answer, oh my God, they know. So, that's let me see what is the reference on that. I believe that's Patarak. Yeah, that's from Patarak, my own, 47. So, a lot of times, when you're talking about the classical aspect of our language, it's very, very hard to identify it in Africa now and establish it as one of the first languages. That's what we say. But understand that, and even in Islam, they say Arabic is the first language. The Christians think, the Hasidic Jews think Yiddish was the first language. So they all saying this. At this point, we know that one of the original scripts had to have come out of Africa. So we can start there. But a lot of these sub-Saharan Semitic languages, that those weren't even Africans at that point speaking those and making those known to the world. So now the origin of our language, as the master teacher put, doesn't even come from this planet, right? And it comes from Mars. So how do we prove that it comes from Mars? That's a whole other build in itself. But now putting it all together, if you look at Djed, it's very similar to Sabbatic and the script itself. So what we actually doing right now is a panel of student teachers from around the country that are going to be starting to put out different articles. And so we're working with some indigenous African tribes right now to actually establish a lot of curriculum dealing with our language. So we have one brother who's going to school, he's actual linguist, and he's going in a lot of these 19th, 18th, 17th century books, and he's going to a lot of the Arabs, right, that were speaking on this, because most Arabs, when you're talking about language, they understand that a lot of these Proto-African Saharan languages was where they got their languages from. So they attributed, like for example, I think one of the books is called the Kuzari, and it was talking about these deities that when they get these different translations, and it was talking about a deity in their language that was similar to Tahuti, and similar to Thoth. You know, it was breaking it down like that. But now it was showing you how even they established that the Nabatean, which we know is synonymous with Sabian, the Nabatean language was the precursor, or was the mother language of their language, which they got. So now when you go to try to prove that, a lot of mainstream archaeologists and linguists, they're not touching that one. Because you have to understand, at a certain point, when you were in Egypt, a lot of our languages you were banned from speaking a lot of our languages, a lot of our scripts. So when they started tearing down a lot of these temples, you was forbidden to speak some of these languages. And if you was caught speaking these languages or writing in these languages, you would get killed. Not only that, as a linguist, if you were putting out material that was saying that most of these Arab languages, these Semitic languages were coming out of Africa, you was banned, you was ousted, and potentially killed. You was putting your life on the line to actually say that that Africa had the mother language, that it was coming from Ethiopia, it was coming from Moro, Sudan, right? And the only thing that happens is the name change. Once you get into the name change, that's where all the confusion starts happening. So now these brothers, these are PhDs in college. So they're writing these articles right now. They're actually in contact with myself and other people in the language department. So we're putting this together, trying to get actual scholarly evidence showing how our language is first. And it's going good. It's tell you right now, there's over 15 articles that here pretty soon will be released publicly on the internet, and also we'll publish it in our magazine, Sabian News, and different forms that we have. That's why if you're not following some of our social media accounts, please do. Because we're going to start putting out a lot more information. They're going to get added into the book. We're actually working on Ancient Signs of Speech. Anybody's familiar with that book? We're going to put that book back out. It's updated language. And so we working on what's most important to us, because we have people working on that, but what's most important when you speaking a language is the fundamentals of actually speaking it. So that's what the master teacher was reiterating in Language of Time. But go ahead, bro.
You said that language came from Mars, right? Why did it come from Nimrod?
Now, what's going on? I heard you say that language came from Mars, but I was thinking in my mind it came from Nimrod. Can you explain?
Without having to go too deep, because we can get to that during the Q&A. I want everybody to really learn the language, but when you talk about Nibiru, this was a craft, right? A planet-sized craft, and this was inhabited by the Anunnaki. Anu, Alelu, Inki, and all this. We went to that story now. He was teaching on a lot of this information back in some of the older books, and now that's what he was saying.
We got on use ice.
And some of these proto-Saharan languages, Arabic even at the time. But now he updated. So when he connects with Mars, where our connection, our tie-in was when the beings, the daughters were actually on Mars, right? Which is going to be one of the docking points when we leave here. And you're going to go back to see some of the projects and things that they was doing on Mars. Meaning that if you go to Sidonia, there's pyramids. That's one of the civilizations that's on Mars that we inhabited. Shinti, one of the projects, or one of the laboratories that we had. When he's talking about the face of the Admiral project, where you saw that. So now, before we came down here, 24 million years ago, they implanted the seed, because Mars was a stop-off spot. So they implanted the seed at Mars into the dolphin. They call it the Rainbow Project, the Rinda, or Dolphin Project. Now, when they implanted the seed, we came here, right? And that was because Mars had laboratories and had a civilization that we were already establishing. The Egyptians were on Mars. There's pyramids on Mars, you see what I'm saying? And so when the language got brought down here, we started speaking it, but now we're updating our language. So a lot of people who aren't around now, they might say, well, they're familiar with Nubic, they're familiar with Wapic, they're familiar with the Wapuyi even. And these are older dialects of our language now that we're updating everything, speaking Sabat or Sabian, okay? So it's not to say that it doesn't, but when you talk about cuneiform, that was more classical to the Anunnaki in Mesopotamia. Cuneiform, which he was teaching, was one of the first languages. If you go to what is it, ancient Egypt and the pharaohs. He's saying that was the first language, cuneiform, but that's not rightfully so now. That we're in the hereafter. The first language was Sabbatic, Sabbatian, that was spoken here. Now, cuneiform was indigenous, or it was owned by the Sumerians, which was real close, but it's not when we speak in now. But when you go to the cuneiform stone tablets, that's where he said you got the original books of the Bible coming out of there. When they found those, that was that language. It was written in cuneiform, got translated by Dr. Malachi Zedor and Zachariah Simpson at the time. I was doing the translation.
So now I wrote out some words so we can practice the tones. Full out, basically. All right, so I want you to repeat after me. Also, I'll write the transliteration after we speak it, but I don't want to get people too dependent on the transliteration because that ties back to the English script, and that's where a lot of people get confused or they get lazy with the tongue. So today, I'm not going to be writing that too much. I'll write direct translations as you see here, but just for this portion, I'll write out the letters afterwards, okay? So repeat after me. Ashuk.
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 That is divine love. Nathar.
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 Again, you see the DJ. So it's not Nathar. It's not a TH sound. It's the DJ. So one more time. Nathar.
Nathar.
Overseer. Alright. Sahan.
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 Plate. Like a normal plate. Alright, and then we have the Kari.
The Kari.
The Kari.
The Kari.
The Kari.
The Kari.
Again, you see the ZH sound. And that means memory. Okay. So we're going to go over that one more time. I want to hear everybody pronouncing it. Okay, Ashuk.
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 Nathar.
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 Sahan.
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 Zakari.
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 So from there you kind of learn again to use the placement of the tongue to where you're using all 43 muscles and activating your cellular DNA to the language of our ancient ancestors. It's very important, it's very key for us to speak it and speak it properly. And again, it will take time because we are, or we have been conditioned to speak English for so long. Not even just for 400 years, longer than that, like thousands of years we've been speaking tongues that are foreign from our own and lands foreign to our own. So it will take time, but the thing is to practice. That's what I always tell people, to practice. It took me a while to even get just the letters alone, but it's not as hard as you think. So the same thing as me writing the letter A is the same as me writing the sa. It's just lines placed together to create a symbol. But now when you look at these symbols, it ties back into your ancient tones, your ancient DNA. So it's not foreign to you. It's not mangled, okay, as in English. So we know English is compiled of many different languages. It's not necessarily its own, because when you go to etymologies and things like that, you'll see French, German, Arabic derivatives, all kinds of things. So it's important to practice our most ancient tones. All right, now there will be more letters and things featured in Ancient Science of Speech, which will be available today or tomorrow, okay? So now I'm gonna go into some of the updated symbols and also updated words. For those who have been speaking it, as we know, the numbers have changed and certain letters or scripts have also changed or evolved.
Any other questions while she's getting into that? with that, it's touchy. So probably about 2 years ago, what we were trying to do was create an app on the phone. I don't know if anybody remembers on the Wu-Sabat online, there was an app that you could download for about $10, and it was real good. Had a lot of our language on there, words, and it was continually being updated. So we're gonna try to come back out with it probably about 2 years ago. So we prescribed the business plan for it, and we sent it in to the master teacher. And he let us know, because we was trying to do it to where when you get your phone out, you can text in our language. And he let us know he didn't want the font out like that. Reason being, if we were to do it like that, then other people will have our font. No, like, the language itself is a sacred language. It's our sacred language, so if you see that script, you know 9 times out of 10 it's coming from one place, and that's us, as Sabians, right? But then there's also cases where you saw, I don't know if you saw any of the pictures on Facebook, there was some jihadists or there was some terrorists, and somebody, they photo edited our script on the back of their flags, trying to connect us with terrorism. So there's things that they do, right? But it was a photo edit, so you can kind of tell it was bad. You could tell obviously it was edited, so it didn't go anywhere. I'm not even sure what the picture is at right now. But now he didn't want the script out, so he actually only certain people are authorized to have the script. And being that we made the change to Sabian, people that understand this. There's different factions of Sabians that are going to come forth here soon. And in this, you're going to have people that produce books, that can produce classes, that are already producing books and already producing classes that don't have nothing to do with us. But they're going to try to get our scripts. They're using either old Wu-Nuwapu or some of the old scripts that we had in the past to try to, state the claim that they're the true Sabians, they're the true Nuwapians, they're the true Ansars, they're the true Nubian Islamic Hebrews, all this. So that's why the confusion comes in. That's why he only authorized certain people to have the script. That way, once we put certain documents out, you see that script, you know it's official. You know it's coming from us. So it's a touchy subject. It's touchy when you do that because you have people that's selling the font right now that are doing different things, and we're trying to let them know, like, listen, that's more business aspect. That's not how you want to do it. So we're just trying to keep that in-house. That way, when there's no confusion when people see our script on certain things, whether it's shirts, whether it's books, whether it's hats, all that. Any other questions?
The viewer have a question.
Okay.
He wants to know her name.
Katat Anak Senantat Atumbrei. Any other questions? So, when you're learning this language, I'm gonna just let y'all know. We put out, what was it, ancient, what was, the last language book, what was the title? Language of Time. No, Pashalil Wakut. Palahashalil Wakut, the language of time. This is one of the thicker books. I don't know if you all have it. It's one of the thicker books. Now, in the book, I think it's study 16, talking about the 6 principles of fluency. Now, in it, we say six months, right, to become fluent in the language. Now, the research behind that is that you put in 3, 4, 5 hours in a day. And most people say, well, when they're working with the language, they think that it's hard to learn, but it's not. One of the harder languages to learn is like Mandarin. Some of these Chinese languages, being that they have 90 characters in their language to use. But our language is not. We have 42. And we have simple sounds like the kha, the ah, the gha, right? Now once you learn these, you're gonna start to understand how our language works and how to formulate certain words. And it's very easy. But what a lot of people trip up on is pronunciation. We don't harp on pronunciation necessarily because of the dialect of English, first and foremost, that we've been speaking. So now, us as the language department, we're scrapping together to put certain things together, and it's more so based for children. And why is that? Children formulate the language easier if you notice, being that their brain is still developing. Now, if Sabians are into the science of Wu-Sabat, they're into the neuroplasticity of Wu-Sabat, understanding that the brain is going to change itself, you can familiarize yourself with these sounds, you can familiarize yourself with a lot of things that we're doing with our language, but you have to what? Become reborn, right? You have to humble yourself and understand that, okay, if I'm learning this language, I know it's going to be hard. I know it's not going to be easy, but I'm more so going to approach it in the sense that I can do anything. We melanated people, we melanated beings. Y'all heard the brothers last night when they was talking about melanin, talking about the capacity of the brain. You yourself, we're far more intelligent than we truly understand. So now when you speak in this language, it's going to be even that. It's going to be even more of that, right? Because a language, first and foremost, is one of the best exercises that you can do for the brain. A lot of Nagaros, Negroes don't open up the brain. So when you speak in the language, so it is going to open up certain centers within you. You might dream in the language. You might, working on your memory, you might see that you're starting to formulate sounds in other people's languages as well. I don't know if y'all saw the video. He said, you master this language, you're going to be mastering everybody else's languages. And it's very easy because you're going to assimilate it, but then you're going to pick up on it real quick. And so now, if anybody watched the movie Arrival, the master teacher told us to watch that. Now, in the movie, it was these extraterrestrials that came down, right? And they advanced human civilization simply by giving them a gift, which at first they mistranslated as a weapon, but they gave them a gift, right? And later when they found out. Now, this gift was what? Anybody seen the movie? It was language, right? It was a language. Now, when they gave them this language, what did she start to do? She started to dream in a language. She started to be able to interdimensionally travel in the past and the future, right? Showing you that when they gave them this language, they were trying to upgrade this civilization. They were trying to upgrade the consciousness of these human beings. So here we are, 2019, so-called extraterrestrial, if you believe it or not, I don't know, right? Working with us, trying to give us a language. Now, the actuality of our language, when you're putting it to the test, right? When you're actually trying to speak it, a lot of people may shy away because of whatever reason, pronunciation. They feel that they're going to get it. They feel like some being's going to come out of the sky, touch their head, and it's automatically going to pop in their head. I don't know. But now, we have to understand, when you're talking about Malachi Kobini Yorko Kram, that's one aspect of the consciousness that harbors that body. But there's also other verities and consciousness that harbor his body. So anybody ever heard of Yanu? Okay, we all should have heard of Yanu. Now, when he speaks, when Yanu speaks, how is it? What's the tone when he speaks? It's very serious, right? And when a lot of times when you have these extraterrestrials working with human beings, it'll upgrade us to the point where we have to meet them where they are, right? Otherwise, he said, you got certain beings from all over. Understand this, you have 100 billion stars in one solar system, one galaxy, right? Or one universe. 100 billion stars in one universe. And you have 100 billion universes. That's cited by Michio Kaku, right, in his books. 100 billion stars in one universe and 100 billion universes, right? So now you have beings and life from all different walks of life. And he said now when they come down, they can just easily manipulate you. And how do we know that? Because we see what's going on. We see most of these extraterrestrials running government systems. We see their infiltration even in a lot of the religious texts, which is what you're dealing with. Now if y'all watch Ancient Aliens, that's all you're dealing with. Extraterrestrials coming down, affecting religion, affecting humanity. In the Bible, the Anunnaki, the Sumerian tablets, right? All of this is showing you that there's extraterrestrial intervention within them. But now the language that they speak is modulated towards who? The individuals that they're encountering. So now us as Sabians, Africans, Patahites, Nadi Igbo, Pygmies, whatever name you want to call us, when we attribute ourselves and align our bodies with this language, we're aligning ourselves with who? Our extraterrestrials, our Natharu, our Wu-Sabat, right? The beings that fashioned and shaped us, so we say. And now you're aligning your body so much so to the point where we're trying to incarnate certain consciousness into human beings. But people are eating bad food, so it can't work. People aren't speaking the language, so it can't work. People aren't reading the books, so their mental capacity is not expanding, so it can't work. People aren't dropping their brainwave and frequencies down to a certain level where they can actually absorb most of this information, so it can't work. But now they said what? Nimrod, if you go to the story in the Bible, right, when he talks about him building that tower, he said these guys basically were pissed off. They said, hold on, we sending out these frequencies to manipulate them, hypnotize them, but it's not working. What's going on? So he came down and found out that they wasn't speaking the language anymore. It's that powerful. And so when we start to speak our language and get on our tone, our true tone and frequency, you're making a statement of individualism, and that you're going to start to change your frequency and your radio station to that of our ancestors. And it's serious. That's why he says, if you are a Sabian, any and everything that we covering right here today, you all should be able to teach this, right? You should be able to teach this language. You should be able to speak this language. And when he put that update out, at the end of it, he said, this is not a game that we're playing. So we know the severity and the seriousness of it. Now, there's a book that's going to come out, Gateways and Guardians. When this book comes out, there's a couple verses that he'll tie into, and he'll let you know. If you don't understand this language and you don't have it, you won't be able to make it through the 9 of bowls or the gateways, right? Because he said when you transition, this language is going to be paramount. It's going to be very, very paramount, important that you know to make that journey to wherever it is you're from originally, or to go through that 9th gate, what they call the chamber, right? So us as beings got to get on it. And when you talk to these extraterrestrials, yeah, no, when he comes down, he ain't playing at all. He ain't playing. He said, did they get it yet? Matter of fact, when we first got correspondence with Patarak, when they said they uploaded Patarak into our master teacher, there was questions that were asked. I don't know if anybody remembers that, right? And it was the sister, I think her name is Robbie. She read it, right? She did the update, and he asked, right? This was Patak talking, speaking at the point. And he asked, he said, did they learn, have they learned the language yet? He said, no. He said, they want to impress each other with the teachings and the doctrine that you gave them. He said, so have they learned the song? He said, no. He said, they're too busy trying to show off with the information, basically. And so now he said, okay, so this is what we're going to do. Obviously, we don't understand why these humans aren't getting it, right? But we're going to do this. We're going to give you Patrak, right? And I don't know if anybody was here yesterday. We read certain chapters out of Patrak, or the preface of Patrak, the rules, how to read it, and everything like that, which is a book that we're working on. Should be out soon. And that's a big book, over 99 chapters, right? Now, when that book comes out, that is the guidelines that we have to live and abide by wholeheartedly. And when you open it up, it's almost like it gets you when you read it, because now it says, now that you know, you can no longer claim ignorance. So now you read in Patarak and it says, you know, how you should be eating. It says how you should be coming to class, how you should be learning your language, how you should be chanting, how you should be meditating. Now, once you read it, you can no longer claim ignorance. So when you get to that point where you transition and your ancestors and these beings come down to you and they ask you these questions, you can go, okay, Patarak said this, did you read it? Yeah. Why didn't you do this? That's how you be judged, right? That'll go into your judgment, being that this is one of the highest science that they've released to us since the ancient Egyptians. So we're dealing with a powerful, powerful information. And now it's hard. People are like, well, why don't y'all translate the hieroglyphs? We're doing that. We have a team that's put together right now that's doing that. However, the teachings of the hieroglyphics, or a lot of the things that you saw at some of these temples, pulled off the walls and put into the actual facts. That's why we call them the Madat Nafar, or Madat At, the beautiful words, right? Or what they say, Medu Netta, Madat Nafir, beautiful words, same thing. So he's pulling these things and making it teachings for us. All of us are in the temple right now, correct? We're in the sanctuary right now. Just how they did in ancient times. They went into those temples, into those sanctuaries to upload this information. Right? And that was extraterrestrials that was coming down. They were getting their craft charged by the tachyon energy that was getting emitted. All these things we know. So we have to take this serious, because if we don't, and these beings come down on that day, when they do come down, and you don't know this language, it's almost, it was almost as if it was all for naught. But I'm yapping now, so I'm gonna turn it on, turn it over. You ready? Go over the Athora, Gabora, Satora, so you can get that. The numbers, I don't know if anybody knows, the numbers were updated. So here you go.
So I have a couple of letters from the script that were updated. So we have the U, or the U, and the Pa and Pet. So the U originally was written, more recently was written as this symbol. inverted ladder, but it's not this anymore. So we have this symbol here. So you have two lines on the left and right, and two lines in the middle going across. All right. And next we have the pa and the pe. This was used for the beginning and ending of words, and this was used for the middle. So really these two didn't change, but the placements of them changed. So now this is the middle and end, and this is the beginning. So this is used in the middle and end of a word. And this is used at the beginning. All right, and now we're going to go into the raqamat, or numbers. So, not necessarily 0 through 10 changed, but we're going to go over them anyway for newcomers or those that just want to study and practice. But the teens and the 20s have changed. So, just repeat after me, and also point to the symbol, okay? Safu. Safu.
Safu.
0. Wahu.
Wahu.
1. Athu.
Athu.
2. Thalu.
Thalu.
3. Rabu.
Rabu.
4. Khamu.
Khamu.
5. Satu.
Satu.
6. Sabu.
Sabu.
7. Tamu.
Tamu.
8. Tasu.
Tasu.
9. Ashu.
Ashu.
10. Now when we look at the script, is there anything that anybody can tell me in relation to the number? Like what is kind of similar? Or what can you see that's consistent with the script and the numbers?
The points match the amount.
Okay, exactly. So when you look at the script, specifically from Wahu through Tasu, you'll see that each line is the amount of the number. So each line equals the amount of the number. Now this is one of the easiest, like the raqamat of the numbers are one of the easiest symbols that you'll find in the entire script, in the entire language, are what you call harafat, the alphabet. So we have Wahu, which is 1, that's 1 line. Athu, which is 2, that's 2 lines. Thalu is 3 lines, Rabu is 4, and so on, etc. And then when you get to Tasu, you have the 8 lines and the circle, which represents 9 as the completion, or the highest number. Okay. And now we have Ashu, which is 10, so it started a new cycle. All right, now we get into the teens. In other words, a different system as before, but that changed. So I'm gonna go over how it's written with you all, or how it's said. And then from there you can kind of see, fill in the blanks for yourself. So we have 11 is Ashu Wu-Wahu. So when we say this, we're saying the 10 and 1. And similar to other languages, where you may say like the 10 first and then the 1, or, it sounds similar. But that's the system that we go by. So 11 is 10 and 1, or Ashu Wu-Wahu. 12, Ashu Wu-Athu, and etc. and so forth. No, so yeah, before it was Wahu Ashu, Athu Ashu, Thalu Ashu, Rabu Ashu. It changed from that. So now we're saying 10 and 1, 10 and 2, 10 and 3, etc. So in translation, that's Ashu Wu-Wahu, Ashu Wu-Athu, Ashu Wu-Thalu. All right, now I'm going to start over again. I'll go over that after this. All right, so repeat after me. Ashu.
Ashu.
Ashu Wu-Wahu.
Ashu Wu-Wahu.
Ashu Wu-Athu.
Ashu Wu-Athu.
Ashu Wu-Thalu. Ashu Wu-Rabu. Ashu Wu-Khamu. Ashu Wu-Satu. Ashu Wu-Sabu, Ashu Wu-Tamu, Ashu Wu-Tasu, and we'll stop there. That's 19. Okay? So as you see, it's written, you have the dome or the 10, the Ashu, and you have the number inside. So this is how the teens are written. So 11, you have the dome or Ashu, and then you have 1, 2, 3 into 9 written inside, and that represents what the number is, or the teen number is. So again, the system is Ashu, Wu, and whatever number comes after that, from 1 through 9. That's the system of it. Okay? In translation, you would just say 10 and the next number. Okay? And now we have the new system also of saying the 20s, 30s, and so forth. So previously it was Athanu. Let me just write it out here in transliteration. So it's not this anymore. This represented 20. And then Thalanu was 30. Okay, you don't have to write this down because it's not valid. I just want to show a point. So again, you see the beginning of the word, of what it represents, repeated, but with the system of adding the N and the U. Okay, so we have Athu, which is 2, the 20 is the Thanu, Thalu, which is 3, but the Lanu is 30. But this is the old way of writing it, so we don't say that anymore. So the new system is to say so again, the new system is to say basically the beginning of the number, but you're adding the U-R-A to the N. So as we go over in pronunciation, you have Athu for 2, correct? Okay, so 20 is Athora. Athora. So again, you see the similar ATH sound. Athora. 3, Thalu is 3, correct? All right, so again, for 30, you have Thalora. Thalora. Rabu is 4, and you'll see Brabura for 40. So again, you see the pattern of the U, the R, the A, or the Ura sound. And then if you go on, 50 would be, can anybody tell me?
Chamora.
Chamora. 60.
Satura.
Satura. 70. Sabora. 80.
Tamura.
Tamura. 90.
Tasora.
Saheh, correct. All right. So now let's go into how we would write it. So again, you see a lot of these numbers and symbols in a lot of ancient texts. If you study or just go to the walls of ancient Egypt, go to the museum, etc., you also see like the dome symbol a lot. So here we have what is 20. Or Athora. So this is represented by 2 domes or 2 ashus, correct? So that's Athora, these 2 symbols here. Now this is Athora Wu-Nuwapu. So we have 20 and 1. Then you have Athora Athu. So this is 22. Athora Thalu, 23. And so forth. So I stopped here with the 20s. Alright? So can everybody understand the system of how it's written? So you would have the domes in representation of the multiples of 10. So for 20 it would be 2 10s. So you have 2 ashus. 2 Asher symbols, and that equals 20. And then 21, you add the 1 on the side. 22, you add Athu on the side. 23, you add Thalu on the side, and so forth until you get to 29. Now for the symbols of 30, again you see the domes, and this is 3 domes representing 3 3 sets of 10, or talora. Talora. Okay. Now when we go to the next one, this is, can anybody tell me? Talora Wahu. Correct. So you have 3 ashus and 1 Wahu. Okay, simple, right? Simple? Okay. The next you have 3 domes and the symbol for Atu. So that would be
Talora
Atu. Correct. And so forth and so on. So the same system goes for when you say Rabora, 40, Chamora, 50, Satora, 60, and so on. You just write how many domes or how many sets of 10 that is. Okay. So we're going to stop there. There'll be more again in the ancient signs of speech for you to practice. But I don't want to be too long-winded. So those are some of the rakamats and also the updated rakamat or numbers. Okay, so you guys want to count one more time? Go over it one more time? All right. So I'm going to just go into it, okay? All right, so we have Safu, Wahu, Atu, Talu, Rabu, Hamu, Satu, Sabu, Tamu, Tasu, Ashu, Wu-Wahu, Ashu, Wu-Atu, Ashu, Wu-Talu, Ashu, Wu-Rabu, Ashu, Wu-Hamu, Ashu, Wu-Satu, Ashu, Wu-Sabu, Ashu, Wu-Tamu, Ashu, Wu-Tasu, and then you have Athora. Okay. Now let's just go into 20, 30, 40, and so on, okay? So Athora, Talora, Rabora, Chamora, Satora, Sabora, Tamora, Tasura. And we'll stop there at 90, okay? All right. Ayat Tashwalat, any questions? Maybe.
Real quick, I see one of the brothers on Facebook, he was asking about the hieroglyphs. So I'm gonna read I got a letter, and I'm gonna read, and then I'm gonna read, this is an unpublished book, it's called Chaos. I don't know if some of y'all are familiar with it. But it says, let me start on verse 43. So it says, in ancient days and times, we described creation and making, growing, and birth in the form of hieroglyphic symbols, drawings that each held hidden meanings. Growing and birth in the form of hieroglyphic symbols, drawings that each held hidden meanings, so as to protect our past for your future, the best kept secrets, best kept sacred. From invading unnatural creatures, the human beast, who invade, rape, kill, steal, and copy and claim as their own. The Rosetta Stone was left for them to find, left on black basalt. It did no more than what we wished of it, gave them a short path to follow that led them only as far as we wanted them to go. And then it has a diagram as hieros equals holy and glyph, carving, hieroglyph, holy carving. And it says, no more, no less. In 384 AD, the Roman ruler Theodosius ordered the destruction of our ancient rituals, rites, temples, and papyrus scrolls. So we prepared for them what they needed to protect. Until 1822 AD, we sent from the Nubians helpers. So it's Nubians who found us, right? We sent from the Nubians helpers to let them find what they placed there. One, Jean-Francois Champollion, called the Egyptian, "What fools these mortals be." From the Persians, the Macedonians, the Greeks, the Romans, the Phoenicians, and the Arabs, Turks, New World, Caucasians, none know the key to our language, our divine ways. We showed them the way to the stone in Rosetta in 799 AD. Well prepared for them 14 broken lines in 1 week form of hieroglyphics, 32 lines in Demotic, 54 lines in Greek, age to be to them of 196 BC, by the priest of Memphis, to honor a ruler, one Ptolemy V Ephenios. So they followed this misleading path to nowhere, and up to this day it is still Greek to them, the hidden true meanings of our ancient tomes, so they cannot reason or know our reasons or reasonings. Alright, now that's from a book that's unpublished. It's called Chaos. In the book, the master teacher is breaking down the different hieroglyphic scripts and showing how they apply to us. But now a lot of people overstand this. They get confused the way modern Egyptologists teach metal netter, the hieroglyphic scripts, what have you. Reason being, he says some of the true meanings they don't understand. Now I'm gonna read a letter where, for the most part, when we get into the higher aspects of Wu-Sabat, it's gonna go into the hieroglyphs. So everybody learning our language right now really should, well, you should already be familiar. If you're keeping up with the books, you should be familiarizing yourself with hieroglyphic scripts. Chaos is one good book. There's a ton of glyphs in there. The Proof, he puts a lot of good hieroglyphics in there. So let me see. So I'm gonna read this one as well, just so you can kind of see where this is going.
Does everyone have these, the notes? All right.
Okay, so this is from a letter, so bear with me. It's small. Okay, it says, "For you ask these things of me, and I must do my job for you by opening what was sealed for far too long. We speak of Ba, soul, and Ka, spirit, or a person. Now we speak of Achet, that which the Ka transfigured into once the alignment is made on the 70th point to receive eternal life as all. The pharaohs labored to be transformed by the opening of the mouth ritual, by the elixir of the Nadaru. That must be restored as Khnum did for Aset, to raise the phallus of Asar, that Har could be born with the Inbu. It all is in the stars. Aset and Asopdet, the tree, stars of Sirius. The 3 stars of Sirius, which is below Sa'ah, and the 7 stars of Asar, which is Orion, and their son Ra, Horus, who is Sobdet, Sobidu, the blazing star of the zodiac of the Dindera, with the 4 mother Nataru, who hold up the heavens, and the 8 Hathor Horus, who descend from Ha Horus. We find this on the altar in the book called the Pyramid Text. As was recorded, the Nataru mixed with simian females to breed sons of man mortals who became sick and lost their melanin and the solar plex. Light green light of Asar, the first incarnation, mixed seed to be restored. The green light of eternal life was the green light of the eternal life was birthed out of the seed and must be replaced. As the pyramid text number 820-2 records, the rite must be performed properly to transform the sons of man back into sons of the Nadaru. Restore the green light by a Sahu, amulet maker who gives you Sa'ah, protection, by the Hika, by Atum putting the Ankh tool to the lips of those who lost their green light, became mortals, must put back on immortality, transformation. See the Heliopolis. Now he's going to go and reference one of the pyramid texts. He said, see the Heliopolis inscription on the wall of the temple of Amun in Karnak, called the Neb, Lord, Atum, Lord of Heliopolis, Anu, opens the mouth of the dead pharaoh Senusret the first to give him eternal life. Seek this out. and you will see what I speak is facts. Wu-Sabat, right knowledge. Are you still walking with me? Hold my hand, son. Now, I will read for you of the book on the true altar, the pyramid text. And so then he goes in, translating another pyramid text. So he'll familiarize us in some of the upcoming books and literature on the pyramid text. There's a couple of vague mistranslations that they put out, but he urges us to get them so that we'll understand what it is they're talking about, but then he'll bring it home. There's another book, The Revelations of Yanun. When that comes out, he gets real hands-on with us and the hieroglyphics and the Egyptian culture, but then also the epistles. When the epistles of Yanun comes out, he's going to detail some of the ceremonies that they have. And one of the ones that they were speaking of is one of the, what they call Immaculate Conception of Isis, and they call Har. So he's going into that in that book. So those books are soon to come out, and when they do get them, understand that the information that we're dealing with is upgraded. So a lot of people, used to know the master teacher to teach on certain aspects of culture and religion and science, but now he's ushering in a whole other era of Wu-Sabat or Sabianism that's really fortified, and most of it is going to be taught in Yanunism, the ancient Egyptian order, some of the fraternal orders that we have through the Masonic and OES logic. So that was for that brother. This question now, what she's drawing on the board, this was actually put out as well. He's showing you that each letter, he's only give a couple. I think we have it on the Sabians Worldwide on Facebook group. If not, we can try to post that. But this was given showing you the symbolism of our language. Each letter in our language is similar to a hieroglyph in itself, and it has a meaning. So now she's drawing on the board some of the meanings of like the Ah, the one of our first letters, the A, the second, and then the B as well. Like I said, so when that update is given to Maria, okay, so this is Pa Hafe Qasad Shalil Misbatia Harafat, the sacred meaning of Sabbatic alphabets. And he reads, all of our Harafat alphabets have secret and sacred meanings to them, unique to our cultural way of life. Below are just a few. So he has the Ah, the first letter in the alphabet, the seal of all emotions. The letter Ah is the way the blood passes through the four chambers of the heart, right? Then going to the A, he says the gateway towards the above, Nataru. The letter A, Ah, is the gateway towards Pa Nataru, the overseers. Then he'll go into B, our second letter, the doorway or gateway for both entering and exiting. The letter B is for doorway or gateway. So, if you're familiar with the hieroglyphic script, anytime you have this opening right here, that's symbolic of a doorway, gateway. Anytime you see that N, when it's seated like that, usually you see that behind the attribute of the names of our ancestors. So when you see Atum, I don't know if we didn't put it on the cover of the line, but when you see certain their names, to identify them as Nadaru or as overseers, they will have an ancient Nadar sitting, and he would seem like he would be sitting on the ground kneeling with his knees perched up. So this is one of the ways to symbolize that this was a Nadar, this was a name of a god or somebody of high rank that you were speaking of. And which way they were facing was the way that it was to be read. So going forward, we're gonna have, like I said, we have a lot of different people working on the language, and so some of the classes touching on this we'll have that. We'll update all other student teachers on how to correctly process and teach this information as well.
Also, an example of the seated sign of the N, the N, is if you to your right, you'll see Sekhmet or Sekhemtet, and if you see how she's seated, you see the N shape as well. So. And also in ancient Egypt, even if you go up to the Met in Manhattan, you'll see a lot of like the deities and their statues, they're seated in that form or shape. Okay? So I just wanted to add on to that. Yeah, and also the doorway clearly looks like a doorway. So these are the representations of our language, or Sabbatic, an ancient script. This is kind of just the gist or warm-up for you guys. So there'll definitely be more books. There are books available. There'll be even more available, even more classes to be filmed and taped online as soon as possible. And also, we're having a workshop on July 11th, as we mentioned yesterday. So if you guys would like to sign up, please, you can contact me or my husband, Tom, for more information. We'll be happy to teach you all, so you all can also become student teachers or just learn something new.
All right, anybody got any questions? Any questions so far on the language?
Those classes, will it be live? Like people when they can't get in?
Yeah, the classes are going to be live. Here's the thing. We're going to work on curriculum. There's a curriculum that was being created. Some people who were here in the Bushwick area, they got to partake in it, right? Some of the classes that we was doing, they went through a lot of the coursework, just real foundational information, get everybody ready as far as the foundation of the language. That's the past participle, the elongation, the mu, ma, mi, really familiarizing everybody. Like Abam standing right there, if anybody knows Abam.
That's a great teacher, right?
Listen, right there, you know, he's a product of the classes. He comes, he's real eager to learn, but he's always asking questions. And as Sabians, like I tell them all the time, it's a certain way that a student teacher in the class is going to ask questions. You have to ask questions in the aspect of you actually teaching these. So when I was first learning the language, a lot of things that was helping me got as many words as I could, right? I was the language teacher I was dealing with, Chatwise, Hootip, right, in South Carolina, bugging them every day for words. You know, I'm getting 10 words here, I'm calling them next day, getting 15 words, the next day 20 words, the next day 100 words. Next thing you know, I have 3,000, 4,000 words. And I'm working on the script, working on learning the language, but it's an everyday thing. And the classes that we do here, we're gonna branch out and we're gonna first give it to the student teachers in each jurisdiction. So we have a language group chat that we're actually gonna work on to bring more student teachers into. But once we get that language group of teachers, we're gonna give them the curriculums, the crossword puzzles, the word finds, the word searches, and the different things that we have for the language, and let them use that as a format to work off of.
Are you all, you know, because it's a big game going on WhatsApp with the language.
WhatsApp is used usually for the Caribbean countries. I know we have a WhatsApp with Trinidad. Who else? Yeah, who's on there? Who's on it? I've seen a couple. I don't know. Okay. What's it called? Okay. I don't know about that one. I'm not on that one. I'm on the one with Trinidad, Barbados, and we just started a new one with the Bahamas, so I'm not too familiar with that one.
Well back.
I noticed that y'all was talking about different workshops, and he was talking about also, teaching and, just being able to maybe have somebody to be able to educate. So can you speak a little bit more about that? Whether it's one-on-one or in a group or coming to the temple.
Let me see, the paperwork is upstairs. I'm gonna go get it here in a little bit. We're gonna have, we have a sign-up sheet right now for it. We're gonna do this July 11th. It's gonna be here. It's gonna be the first one that we do. It's similar to the one that we've already been doing. So some people sitting in the crowd right now have been coming. We did it Thursday nights at 7 o'clock, right? And this was before we changed. It was about for 2 hours. And so basically, this was myself and my wife in contact. We were working hands-on with people who wanted to really understand the language. So the curriculum that we use for that is more so similar to what we're going to be doing July 11th. We're going to introduce it to everybody. We're going to give packets, the materials that you need. It'll tell in the curriculum. It'll tell you. So when we give you that first sheet, it'll let you know the notebook, all the materials, the markers, all that stuff that you're going to need. and then when we do the classes, it's going to show you each day what you're going to get into. So it's set up like coursework. So it'll have week 1, then it'll have the topic of studies that we're going to go into. Week 2, the topic of studies that we're going to, and everybody's going to get that before we even start. All right, so you'll kind of get like we call it syllabus in college, but you'll get like a prerequisite of all the things that you're going to touch on going forward in the language. And like I said, it's hands-on. We created a Telegram chat. We probably got about 50 people in it, right? But we created a Telegram chat. That way, at any point in time, if somebody has a question, they can just forward their question in that chat. And that's myself, my wife, Kata, some other individuals who are in the language department. That way, it's totally open communication. You can ask the questions that you have, and we can make sure that you're speaking. All right? Now, with the classes, we've been doing for about 6-7 weeks, probably more. But I would say it's about 6-7 weeks we're doing the classes. And individuals who have come to the classes are speaking fluent, very fluent. And we'll have certain aspects of the classes where when you get to week 8, week 9, week 10, it was just coming. 30 minutes, no English. 40 minutes, no English. Have a whole class, no English. And you were just speaking. So it's different stages to it, but we want to make sure that we're pushing forward, because when it comes to a lot of the classes, when we do these Sunday classes, it's real hard because you have newcomers might ask certain questions, right? But now when you have those classes, we've been hands-on. So we all been working with each other in the language for about 8 weeks. So we know most of the principle and the base stuff. So we can move on to the speaking, the games, the communications. We have things where we might go out to the public and just be at a cafe and hold a conversation. We might do a thing where we play a game where, I speak all Sabbatic and she'll translate. I'll be like, that's my translator, So if you want to know something, you got to talk to her. And I'll just speak all Sabbatic, let her go, and she'll be like, oh, he said this. I play a game sometimes. When I'm out in the public, I just be like, yeah, tell them I'm not from here and I don't speak no English. And I'll just speak full Sabbatic. And she'll be my translator, and they don't know what you're saying. So that's what I'm saying. When you got your language, you got to have fun with it, but understand this. People right now on the internet, they're going to say our language is pseudo, our doctrine is pseudo, it's fake, it's false, right? But they can't tell you that if you speak the language. So somebody's like, oh, that language is made up. I'll speak to her, and I'll speak in our language, and she can understand me. So it's a language, right off the back, no matter what they say. You see what I'm saying? So when you do that, I don't got to debate you about the origin of the language. We got people that's doing that. Best believe. We got some PhDs and some college grads that are putting some real solid information together, showing you the historical aspect of the language. But when it comes to certain aspects of just speaking it, they can't take that from us. All right? So, any other questions? We're going to have, we're waiting for the sister. We're going to have a talent show and a fashion show before we go into Q&A. So, that's kind of what we're waiting on. So, we got probably about 15 more minutes. So, if you have any other questions, we can tackle that. But dealing with the language, understand this, when we talk about the historical aspect of the language, I tell people, don't deal with that at first. Really be hands-on in the language and learn it first. Meaning, if I have a small child and I say, hey, I want you to speak this ancient language, right? I'm not about to hit them over the head with how the language came from Moro and Temple of Yeha and was established in 300 BC and how the language was found in certain pyramids. And I'm not going to have to do all that. We're going to go and we're going to do what he talked about as one of the 7 or 6 principles in the Language of Time book. We're going to go through word, picture, association. And this is why it's important for us to speak it, because when we have children, he said, us as Sabians now, it's very hard for us to be a product of the language. Meaning, if she tells me the word tofa right now in my mind, tofa, I'm going to think apple. I'm going to think apple. That's what the word means, tofa, apple. Whereas, if I have a small child and his first language was Sabbatic, when I say tofa to him, I'm not going to translate apple. I'm going to show him a picture of apple. And he's going to have a word to picture association. That's one of the first fundamentals of learning a language. So when you getting taught English by your parents or whoever, when they were speaking to you, they wasn't hitting you on the head with the symbolism of the language. They wasn't hitting you on the head with the etymological errors and where the language come from, all the deep information on that. No, they were saying stop that, sit down, do this, and even sometimes you didn't know what they were saying when you got that smack on the head or that pop on the wrist. You knew, okay, something I ain't supposed to be doing something, right? Or if they said this is hot, don't touch. I don't know what hot means. If you go touch the stove, now you know what it means. You see what I'm saying? After you burnt yourself. So you want to create this picture association. So it's real important that we get this, and it's not just even to speak it, we have to teach it. And the update when he was talking about the braid and the third eye, he said all Sabians should learn how to speak their language, but also teach. Important. Because now this younger generation, or this younger wave of children that are starting to come, when they get this language, it ain't gonna be no translation. They're not gonna think English, right? They'll have Sabbatic as their first language, and then now we can get into the doctrine, we can get into the symbolism, showing you how different beings can come and incarnate into them, showing you how these spiritual powers that we talk about with the bioetheric blend will be shown in them, right? That's the pure seed, or the 144,000, one of the real aspects of the mission that he was trying to accomplish. So we have to make sure that that gets promoted. So I don't know if you all remember, sometimes with the Ansar days, you couldn't speak English to those children. Certain aspects on Tambourine, you couldn't speak English to those children. And he had it set up that way because he wanted them to know the language. And they were real smart, if anybody knows the stories, right, of how it goes, or anybody have the experience. They were quick with it because they was learning what, Arabic as their first language, and they were speaking that. So now, if they're learning Sabbatic as their first language, it's over. It's literally over. You're going to see our children, we don't have to give them Western curriculums and play around with them and acting like, okay, this is red, this is blue. No, you're going to have a 5-year-old that day that can graduate from college, right? Because their mental capacity is already going to be there. Because this is what this language is doing. Go back and watch that movie around. It's deep. It's deep. Also, so she let me know, so the language itself, it can be written left or right. So some of y'all might see it now that it's written right to left. That's fine. So he said it's either or. So in the books right now, we're updating the books, being that a lot of the books have to get the name changed in them, we're updating it to go right to left. But if you see somebody writing it, or you yourself are writing it from left to right, that's fine. It's either or, literally. It doesn't necessarily matter on that. Let me see.
I just wanted to camel back on what you were saying just a few minutes ago about the, I guess, Tofa and Apple. Like when we teach a class, we do that. We let them know this. It's English is, well, I say nothing there. We don't deal with English, so. When we translate, we say the first 3 ways to translate. First one is body language. Then the second way to translate is pictures. And then I think we say the third way to translate is context. And then if you need English, then we'll do that. But the first 3 are those steps. So I kind of agree with that.
Yeah, that's good. So. One of the classes, I think maybe week 3 or 4, we'll touch on that, right? In the book, Habal-al the language of time, master teacher calls it comprehension input, right? Now, when you do comprehension input is the context clues, but as far as the action. So if I want to tell her to come here, I can say Yatoy Hanu, right? And she would automatically know to come here, even if she couldn't necessarily translate. I don't know what Yatoy means, I don't know what Hanu means, but I know what he's saying, come here, right? Comprehension input, the body language, like you were saying, that right there is key. So we also have, it's so much, but what we also are going to do in these classes, that's why I said, did you write the email down? Okay, she's going to write an email down. It's going to be a YouTube channel that we're going to create. There's going to be a YouTube channel that we're going to create, more so maybe like a website. And on this, we have a flashcard deck that we're working with right now, and it's online. It's Flashcards Deluxe. We're trying to see different routes as far as to put in the words, but so far that's what we were using. So when we was doing the classes, people were downloading Flashcard Deluxe, and we would put various decks. So we have maybe 10 to 11 decks right now that's out, and they hit on body parts. Foods, I think we got animals on there. Bara adds foods. We got word lists that we were doing as well. Wakut time, weather and season, Safor traveling, So these were different word decks that we was working on. So we'll release one deck and we'll base it off of that deck. So say if it was foods, right now the deck for foods, Bara'at, has about 61 words in there. So we'll give this deck out and there's 61 words and we tell everybody to study it for about a week or two. And so when we come back to class, the activities that we're doing or the lesson plans that we're doing is based off that, literally. So all foods. Now cook Habal-al tofat. I like to eat apples. Now cook butim habo mawazat. I do not like bananas. We would say these different things, but we're using it. It's all based on foods. Then the next week we might do traveling. So we'll have car, plane, passport, license, all these different words for that. And we'll have a scenario where we'll play, okay, you're the person trying to sell me the ticket for a plane. I'm the person trying to buy the ticket, and we'll do it like that. Or Matt Can, we'll have ones for the store, bookstore. You try to come purchase this book, be Miss Batia. Or you try to come sell this book, be Miss Batia. And when we learn these activities, when you're real hands-on, it's fundamental. It's like no other. People really pick it up faster like that. So when we start doing that, we'll release all that information. Now people can get with student teachers in their jurisdictions, and they'll have all this, all the flashcards I was talking about, all the videos and stuff like that, and they can kind of go over it and incorporate it into their classes as well.
Well, back.
At what point do you think the master teacher will begin to teach us the significance of the vowels and how they bring the language alive? So at what point, beyond just conjugation, it just looks like a script, but not until we put the vowels in does the language actually begin to live and breathe. So do you know when the master teacher is going to start teaching on the significance of the vowels?
When you say vowels, you're talking about A-E-I-O-U, right? Say it again. Okay, right. The vowels are in the language. Now, when you talk about the hieroglyphs or the metal they were saying you can't translate it because there was no vowels in the language. We use vowels. So she'll go over certain principles with the vowels, right? A, A-U, and A-E. When you, go. I'm trying to get your question.
I don't mean the exoteric significance of the vowels, I mean the esoteric.
Okay, let me see. There's an update I'm gonna read for you. Let me see if this will touch on it.
I'm still gonna write. Oh, we're saying a question. I'm just still gonna write the esoteric form of the vowels and like the three-part root. So our language, it consists, majority of the words before conjugation, things like that, have a three-part root, and that is the basis of the word. So here I'm gonna write the word for birth. And usually when it's in its three-part root without the what you would consider vowels in between, to give it life in this form, it just represents a subject of a thing. So you have, I'm gonna just say it kind of in English for purposes. So you have the L, the D, and the D, or the La, the Da, and the De. And these three represent birth. All right. So now I'm gonna write below like a few vowels and things like that to kind of explain how the conjugation works and different forms of it, how it represents like different things or different topics, or it basically brings that three-part root alive.
Okay. It's not necessarily just pinpointed to the vowels. It's the whole language in itself. So each language or each vowel or letter in itself, haraf in itself, is specially modulated to certain centers within the human body, okay? So he put, this is actually when I wrote it, I'm gonna read it for you. So he says, if Okay, it's real confusing because it was scrambled up. Let me see if I can make it out. If the wrong key and markers become genetic markers of Caucasian chromosomes or mark of the beast, then voices are different than theirs because we vibrate on the keys of F, A, and C. In ancient times, letters were replaced. Letters like T, the Hebrews replaced with D, so Atum became Adam, became Adam. Okay, words in itself is vibrations, it's music, so we put that in wavelength A. Now, each letter is presupposed by A, C, T, and G. These are nucleotides, it goes into the DNA. Now, when I speak a language, any language that I speak, it's a vibration that sends to the cranial nerve, so that's what they call like a hemisync. So, right now, us as Sabians, when we speak our language, this is going to fortify neuropeptides, going to fortify neurons in the brain. It's a science called neuroplasticity. But now when you speak this language like the ah in itself, he had the ah as an A, right? It's a circle in our language, but then he supposed, or he made that symbolism and connected it with the vowels of the heart. Now, one of the original aspects of a Christ, he got wiped down with, or we call Masu. Right? In our language, they say Messiah or Massa, whatever. We say Masu, right? To wipe. This right here was showing you what the Egyptian Christ or these people who will become Christ-like, they will get wiped down with the oil. They say either by the hippopotamus or the crocodile. But he said the crocodile too, because it was synonymous with a reptile that had 4 chambers of their heart as well. So he made these as genetic markers. So he said, if you're speaking our language, C, T, G, and A, the nucleotides are what they call amino acids of the DNA, they can get affected by the sound that you make or the sound that you produce. So a lot of our language is going to that, what they call laser modulation. And when it goes into the DNA, it can actually reshape the DNA. That way, you're producing a whole other genetic line genetically. You're actually activating what we call the latent aspects of your DNA, your junk DNA. Answer your question? She said, no, go ahead.
Within the context of Maqdash, helping us to see clearly. I mean, the elemental esoteric significance. You know how we have topical equal sets. The vowels are also associated. Topical equal sets. The elements, air, earth, fire, and water. So I'm talking about the vowels in association with from the 99 to Djed. The vowels are actually elements. You have the ones that, you have objects, you have water, you have fire, you have earth.
Okay, that, I wouldn't say, where are you getting that information from? How are you formulating that? Which book? Like, which book are you coming from? Or which information? Okay. Okay, because
she's speaking about the 99 deities that we chant at the end of our chant. So she gave reference to a couple of them that represent the actual vowels. And so she was trying to say differently. Esoteric, which was the elemental and the esoteric, as far as how they related. So I think she just kind of got off the mainstream or the colonial way and just kind of merged into what we.
Well, for example, the vowel A that most of our 99 deities names begin with represents divine unity, esoteric. And that's what I'm talking about. Like the vowel U, esoterically, is earth. Okay? The I we would understand as light, and light being another example of fire. So I'm speaking of is there any foreseeable time when the message will bring us into that realization of truly how these vowels, as we speak them in the language, resonate as you speak.
Yes, that he only gave 3 so far. He gave the first 3 letters so far, so he hasn't given the rest as of yet. So that's what he said he was going to give, but I think the way it came to us, I think it might have came, it was going to come in AU or in the news. Because when he did translate it in what she just put up on the board, right, the symbolism of the vowels, he only gave 3, those first 3. So yeah, it should come. Right? I got you. But hold on, let me give it to him.
So again, that goes into how sacred our language is. I won't say was, but is. And the example of it was how the hieroglyphs weren't commonly spoken. So not to say it's not for everyone here. We're not saying that. Mainly, it'll be sent down in a way where it won't be for the people that it won't be for. Because again, you know, a lot of our culture and a lot of, you know, everything that we put out, it gets misrepresented when it gets into the wrong hands, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how you mentioned, like, you know, it will be coming out in like AEO or different schools and different lessons like that. But yeah, the 3 representations that we have so far is the sound and that guttural tone, and that also represents the the and the So that's A, the I, and the U, and that's guttural. So it represented the chamber of the heart and the way the blood flows through the heart. So that, you know, as far as vowels, we don't necessarily have, I know a lot of times we do comparisons with the language to English because that's what we commonly speak as a whole in America. And so a lot of times we have to compare certain forms or conjugations to English, but as far as like significant vowels like A, E, I, O, U, and sometimes Y, we don't actually have that, but we do have certain letters that have significance. So again, he had that, yeah, he gave the N and the B, how that represents the A, and it's the doorway to the Nadaru, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, there will be more, you know. So again, he came here to teach us, and this information is being sent through him, so it's not something that, you know, will be held back from his Yasar, his family, his tribe.
Well back.
Okay. Where's she coming from? With that esoteric part, what she's talking about? That's coming from Hotep. What's the name of it? What's it called?
Elements. These are the elements within you.
But I didn't understand her question because again, the letters have, each letter, each part of our language has a meaning. So we're not going to touch too much on that as far as like hieroglyphic and things like that. I know he also mentioned a lot of the people that may branch off or have branched off from him. It's not necessarily a bad thing because they actually bring people to the doctrine. Because people are going to start to seek the original truth in nature. That is the truth about that. So it's not necessarily a thing. If somebody's seeking to learn, that's fine. You know, ask your question and try to get your answer or give your answer. Right? But yeah, so seeking you shall find. You know, we don't really fault those who diverge from Dr. Malachi or the teachings that was sent to him to teach us, because those people will come back eventually, or they'll seek more until they eventually find their truth.
You don't want me to answer that question, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Any other questions? Anybody got any other questions? This is gonna be the last question, and then we're gonna go to intermission so they can set up for the
Well back.
When they talked about, when y'all spoke about being able to take that course for the language. So after the course based on the language, once so many weeks, maybe 6 weeks after you take that course, are y'all going to continue to teach as in maybe course teaching here? As far as not only just the language, but the culture itself. You know what I'm saying? In your life.
Yes. After the courses, after the courses, I'm going to still continue to teach the language and the cultural aspects of what we guess. There's 2 sheets that everybody can, I don't have them with me. They're upstairs. I'm going to get them. There's 2 sheets that we got right now. One of them is the Ancient Sabbatic Language Workshop that we're going to do July 11th. We're going to start on July 11th. It's 1 week. So it's going to be every Thursday at 7 o'clock before we chant. We chant at 9. But it's going to be 2 hours before we chant. And if you have time to stay, you can continue to stay after that, and we'll still build and go over the language. So that's July 11th when that starts. It's real basic. It's going to get everybody the foundation. There's a lot of worksheets and stuff that people have to get in order to get that. But then to further that, we have the Student Association, and we meet on Mondays. Now with the Student Association, the Madrasu Tashruk, there's applications that individuals can get, and once you get the application, you sign up for it, and then we sit down. People in the Madrasu administration will sit down with you, go over exactly what it is we'll touch on and what we get into, and then we'll probably give you an introductory assessment. And the assessment is probably about 50 to 60 questions, and it's just going to kind of gauge where you're at as far as the doctrine is concerned. And then after that, we'll let you know if you've been admitted into the Madrasu Tashruk, and then from there, you'll get to come and you'll be invited to those. It's invite only for the Madrasu Tashruk, for anybody who's local. And then we'll be hands-on with you as far as the lesson planning. And the people that are actually in the Madrasu Tashruk will be some of the brothers and sisters that you see go up on Sundays to teach. And so those will be the ones that come from there as far as like what we teach, how to teach. We'll go over public speaking. We have brief things like that, doing public speaking, getting you ready for that, how to refer to the master teacher, the cultural attire that you're needing to wear, that we're asking for you to wear, things like that. So it's real hands-on, kind of teaching you the culture. It'll go into like how to start your prayers, how to set up an altar, you know, the works. It's all in there, but it's literally what you ask and what you take out of it is what you're going to get. So that was your question.
Alright, so I just wanted to give a last couple lessons and also touch more on, not necessarily, well, I guess the physical going to the spiritual aspect of the language, the gist of it, okay? So the first lesson is basically the 3-part group, and I'm going to show you guys, or I'm showing you guys 2 forms, or what you would call, one is an action and one is a noun, in English, of course. So we have, again, L, D, and D, and that's birth, the subject, and if you put the A in between the first L and the D and the U, between the death and the death, you have La Dud. So pronounce it with me, La Dud. And this is to birth. This is the action of giving birth or birthing, etc. All right, next you have the AA form, which is a noun. So when you put the A in between the L, the death, and the death, you have Ladad. Ladad. Repeat after me. Ladad. And this is birth as a noun. So the form of it, the topic, you know, the giving. When I say giving birth, that birth would be the noun, and then this is the action. All right, so that's just a simple rundown. There are more forms as far as like OA for foods, AE for adjectives, and things like that. Now, when we go into the tones of the language and how we're speaking it, as I mentioned earlier, when we speak Misbatia or Sabbatic in its proper form, with the proper pronunciations of the dual letters, etc., and the guttural tones, we're using all 43 of our facial muscles. Versus in English, it's a very low amount because it's a flat tone language. And you don't roll the R's, you don't double the L's, none of that. It's not even as complex as Latin or Greek or the other tones. It's very flat. It's even flatter than that. So when you speak on muscle usage of the body, you go into the brain as well because you have the nerves. So the nerves that you're using or that you're causing yourself to use, the 43 facial muscles, that goes into brain synapses. So the more muscles you use in your body, the more brain synapses you'll have. And that causes the spark, or what you call the spark of life. And that causes your brain to develop more. So that's going into like, you know, mental development, your mental capacity increases, etc., and it causes you to even want to learn more. Your memory will be larger. You know, you go into things like that. So it's important to to speak it, and to also get to the root of every language that you speak. So, I also wanted to give you guys a couple words to take home. These are just basic words that we speak on a daily basis, but a lot of people don't either spell them properly or they don't say them properly because they may not know the exact tones or where the words are placed. So we have the 4 words, Rahubat. Repeat after me. Rahubat.
Rahubat.
That's greetings. That's kind of how we say hello for everybody. We have Wadu.
Wadu.
Wadu. That's farewell. We don't say goodbye because that means that's the ending of you meeting somebody or you seeing someone. We say farewell, so you give them blessings as they leave. All right? In translation. Then you have Ta'wua. Ta'wua.
Ta'wua.
That is yes. So that replaces Tua, as most commonly know. Tua is now Ta'wua. And then you have Na'ut. Na'ut.
No.
Which is no. So these are the basic 4 words that you say as you're a child growing up. You know, these are the ones that you may first know besides mother and father. Well, I'm just going to give you these. So, again, I wrote it kind of funny because I'm transliterating the letters for you all. So if you write this down in the notes, you kind of get a few letters as well. So we have the re. You see the hard H. Remember we went over that earlier, so that's the H sound. So you emphasize that when you say Rahubat. Rahubat. And for Wadu, you see the hard H again at the end. So that's Wadu. Wadu. Not Wadu. Not nothing like that. You don't elongate that U sound. It stops with the hard H. Wadu.
Wadu.
Ta'wua. Again, you see the hard T. So that's
Ta'wua.
And then you see the hard A, which is that guttural sound. Ah. Ah. Representing the chambers of the heart, etc. Alright, and that's yes. And then again, you have Na'ut. Again, you'll see the circular symbol representing the chamber of the heart. You'll see that represented as the U this time. So remember, that symbol, that one symbol represented 3 different sounds. So you have the A, the and the E. Now, in this form, you see it as the So you'll know to pronounce it Na'ut, not Na'at, not Na'at, Na'ut. Alright, and again you have the hard T, the T sound. So also we have the email, tafkafmaslat@gmail.com, and you just email us if you have any additional questions or information.
Robert, just a quick question. The spelling, after the TH, is that a Q or an A? Of your email address.
The Q. Okay. That's my English cue for you guys. I'll write it a little better. So I'll keep it away. So again, if you have any questions, inquiries, you can email us there, and we'll happily get back with you guys on the answer and whatever you're inquiring about.
And so also, I just went and got it. This is the sign-up form. If you're local and you want to come to the language workshop on July 11th, get with me. I'll give you this form. All you do is fill out this, and we'll make sure that you get squared away as far as what you need to know. We're going to do it July 11th, probably at 7. That's a Thursday. So it's the first Thursday after July 4th. We didn't want to do it July 4th, but we have a celebration for that day. So July 11th is the first day we'll be doing the workshop. If you don't make it to the workshop, still come, even if you get in like the 3rd, 4th week, because there will still be information and other students that can kind of speed you up to course. So please don't feel that you're behind or shy away from coming because of anything. Just come through. We'll at least even put you on the chat that we have dealing with the language, so you can always stay up to date no matter where you are. And then also have the Maqdash Tasarruf, that's our student association membership applications. If you want to sign up for that, it's just a little questionnaire that you have to fill out, and we'll put you on. With the Maqdash Tasarruf, there's different projects that we have throughout the year. We're actually doing a raffle right now to raise funds for it. But the student association is keen on going around lecturing. So we have different lectures throughout different universities here locally that we're working on. different black student associations throughout the Metroplex that we're trying to get with, so we can get them our information. So when you come in with the Madrasu Tasruk, you'll study, of course, get some of these things that you need to know as far as the jewels, but we go out and we propagate to different places. So a lot of this information when it comes to working on books, making language videos, doing different things like that, the Madrasu is real paramount, or is real instrumental in getting a lot of that stuff. So if you want to get involved in that, we'll have the package for you. Now, internationally, it's a little different. There are student associations that are set up in other countries, so like Jamaica, Barbados. I think we visited. We got to work on Bahamas. So a lot of other people that are Sabians are participating in this. So it's something that we're really trying to push to the family, being that we're really trying to revamp the way that we teach, the way that we disseminate information, but also we need help in a lot of aspects as far as starting schools, boys and girls program, different curriculums, different research that we need. So when we put this towards the Madrasa Tashruk, where we're actually extending the hand to other families and other families throughout the different jurisdictions, different countries, and letting them know exactly what we need and letting them put some stuff together as well. So if you want to get involved in that, I have applications for that as well as the language workshop. All right. So real quick after this, we're going to have a brief intermission. The brothers are just going to play some music. I don't know if we have any food or anything. Of course, we have the vendors around. Please support our Sabian brothers and sisters in their businesses, because that's real paramount and fundamental too, because when you talk about the spell, the master teacher always told us to do for self, right? And keeping our dollars, they say you gotta keep your dollars black. I said, no, I keep my dollars Sabian. All right? So we'll get with that. We'll get to the class after this. Thank you all.
I will come.